Hello, everyone, and welcome to Your Mark on the World show. I'm your host, Devin Thorpe, and our guest today is Sarah Holbrooke, the Executive Director of the Pinhead Institute in Telluride, Colorado. Sarah, welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks for having me, Devin. Nice to meet you virtually.
The honor is all ours, I assure you. It's a little bit intimidating for me to interview someone in a video format who has had a career as illustrious as yours in network television, because this is the opposite extreme of network television.
Well, hey, we use a lot of things like this in network television too. It's a real way to get the story from the people. So we used a lot of Skype interviews on the air when we needed to, when news was breaking. But it's a little bit intimidating for me to be on camera instead of on camera. So we're both maybe out of our comfort zone, which is maybe a good thing, Devin.
That's right. We want to be stretched a little bit. Well, exactly. First off, you have to start off by explaining why on earth you left New York after 20 years to pursue a life in Telluride, Colorado, and doing STEM education.
Yes, well, I have a pretty good answer for you. It's love, actually. My husband of 15 years has been running a film festival in Telluride called Mountain Film, which is all about the outdoors, exploration, social consciousness, environment. And he was reverse commuting from Brooklyn to Telluride. And finally last year he said, you know what, let's give it a try. So we moved there a year ago. And at that time, actually, I was still working for the Katie Couric daytime talk show. So I had a job that I moved with me there, but that was going off the air at about the same time as the previous executive director was retiring from Pinhead. And I had known of Pinhead the entire 13 years it had been in existence and was a real admirer of the program. And so when I realized that there was a job in Telluride in this field that I love so much, STEM education, I said, I've got to do it.
Oh, that's great. That's really, really exciting. Yeah. So tell us about the Pinhead Institute, and maybe you should start by telling us why on earth we call this the Pinhead Institute, because that isn't necessarily the name we attribute to smart kids.
Yeah, right, exactly. Well, you'll have to kind of disabuse yourself of the notion of what you think a pinhead is. Long ago in Telluride, back in the 1800s, L.L. Nunn was an early industrialist. He was one of Tesla's colleagues and worked also with Westinghouse. And he started the world's first commercial-grade AC power plant that could provide power at a distance. It was run off a waterfall nearby. As you can imagine, Telluride is a box canyon, and there's lots of water features. So anyhow, he was a scientist and an industrialist, and he had a bunch of young people working for him that he sent to different plants and universities around the country to learn from them what they could about energy and electricity. And he kept track of all of his young people on a map with pins, and he called his young interns his pinheads. And so that's where we take our name from, and we've been in business now 13 years. Nana Nesbitt, who was John Nesbitt's daughter, from Megatrends. She'd been living in Telluride forever and realized that there was a real need, not only in our town of Telluride, but also in the surrounding towns as well, for really quality STEM education and inspiration. We bring scientists who are working in the fields of science from elsewhere into the valley to talk to the kids in the schools. And she's the one who started it and started the internship program that we now run, that we offer to kids in the summer. So it's a pretty long-standing nonprofit in Telluride that's been quite successful.
Well, tell us a little bit more about the scope and breadth of the programs and who's participating.
Sure. So we're a K through 12 program, although we're also starting to work with preschoolers as well. We operate right now in the town of Telluride, and then to the east we operate in Ridgeway and Ouray, and then to the west, Norwood, and then Nuclear-Natarita. Those are the four communities surrounding the box canyon that is Telluride. And my kids go to the Telluride school, but 2 schools away from my kids' school, there's no school on Fridays because they can't afford to heat the building, and so the teachers work long days, Monday through Thursday. But those kids need something to do on a Friday, so often we'll go over to the public library, which is amazing, run by this force of nature called Sue Rice, and we'll bring a science program to the library. So that's one of the things we do. We do no school science days where we bring a science project into the library so that the kids who are out of school can come and do something educational and fun. We always make sure they're educational and fun. So we do no school science projects. We do a program called Scholars in the Schools, where we bring visiting scientists from all different disciplines into the schools to talk to the kids, all different grades. It might be an astronaut who's good for the older grades, or it could be a maker, mechanical engineer who's printing the faces of characters on a 3D printer and then animating a film. So that might be good for a younger class of kids. So we have working scientists in the different various fields of STEM going into the schools and telling the kids why what they're doing is interesting and why the kids should stick with science. We're a Smithsonian affiliate, so we do a lot of programs in conjunction with the Smithsonian. So they just offered a class called Youth Capture the Colorful Cosmos, which was really cool. They shipped us laptop computers that were preloaded with a system that would allow you to ask different terrestrial telescopes to take pictures of outer space objects, and then we would colorize them. So we made the most beautiful array of photographs of Orion or the sun or the moon, and the kids were all very hands-on, and then we printed them out and then we displayed them in the library, so that was really fun. We do a bunch of summer camps, we do after-school programs, we run a robotics league, we run a kind of a chemistry class. We just got a 3D printer, so we'll be doing some maker stuff in our offices. We run a coding class. We do summer camps, and then we also offer these amazing internships for kids who are between their junior and senior year of high school to give them an opportunity to learn at a really high level in different labs and universities across the country. And those kids go on to amazing colleges and universities. We had a kid who had been an intern who graduated from Harvard. We have another kid from the town that only has school 4 days a week who's now currently at Yale. His younger brother is in the process of applying now. He was an intern this summer in large animal veterinary in Auburn University. And so we give these kids a chance to be exposed to the great thinkers of the world outside of our little valley, and it's a great opportunity for them, and they really run with it. It's the kids who really make it all come together.
Well, it sounds like a wonderful, fun program. What I'm not clear on yet is whether any of the students attend the Pinhead Institute full-time as their school, or if it's all just supplemental to school.
It's all supplemental. I would say it's all extracurricular, except for that we bring lecturers into the schools. But we work very closely with the different school districts that we service. But aside from when the scientists go into the schools and talk to the kids, it's all extracurricular. So you could come over to the Pinhead headquarters after school and work in our robotics club, or you could come to our Mad Labs where you mix things up and make things, well, hopefully not blow up. But it's extracurricular. And then a lot of it is summer camps. The Telluride has an amazing summer academy called the Telluride Academy that runs a bunch of different summer camps, and we do about 4 or 5 camps with them, including a drones camp where you build and operate your own flying drone to take photographs or video, a blast-off camp where they build rockets, a boom camp where they do chemistry, including like smoke bombs, which you do outside, a bridge camp, and we're going to add a wilderness biology class this summer with them. And then we do some stuff in our own offices as well over the summer. But it's all kind of extracurricular. Now,
Telluride is... I think most of our listeners will have heard of Telluride. It is a rather famous small town, but probably people don't know much about Telluride. Tell us a little bit about the location, topography, etc. of Telluride, because I think
Telluride is in rural southwestern Colorado, and it's what's called a box canyon. I like to describe it as an hour-and-a-half cul-de-sac. And instead of a basketball hoop at the end and some bikes and a dog, there's this gorgeous waterfall, Bridal Veil Falls. But basically, unless it's summer and you have a 4-wheel drive, you can't go through the town of Telluride. You can go into it, and then you turn around and you come out of it. And basically our next towns are 45 minutes away to the east or the west. I think because it's so isolated.
What's the elevation?
Oh yeah, 8750. It's very, very high up. You have about 1/3 less oxygen. So even just walking up my stairs, I get out of breath. And I'm a pretty good talker. I can barely talk on the phone and walk up the hill. It's very thin oxygen. It's very high elevation, and then the ski mountains are above us, and they go up to 12,000. So it's it's a valley surrounded by mountains, very difficult to access, but really beautiful once you're there.
And what is the population of Telluride?
It's very small, 2,500 year-round residents. Now, many more people come in from the outer towns to work during the day, especially during the tourist seasons, which are both summer for hiking and winter for skiing.
Now, how in the world did this world-class institute get started in a town of 2,500 people that is absolutely, positively the definition of the middle of nowhere?
It is truly the middle of nowhere. You know, my husband has a saying, I think it's called fighting above your weight. Does that make sense? Yeah, Telluride has always fought above its weight. I mean, it always has had world-class everything for being such a tiny town. I think because it's so physically beautiful, and it's also an old mining town with beautiful old Victorian wooden houses and brick buildings and a courthouse, and I mean, it's very, very charming. So it's a high-value place to go. So people who have achieved a lot, you know, whether it's Oprah or Meg Whitman or General Schwarzkopf or my former father-in-law, Richard Holbrooke, who was a diplomat, or Susan St. James, the actress, who was his friend and brought him there to begin with. You know, people who've achieved a lot, oh, sorry, the phone's ringing. People who've achieved a lot actually, you know, are drawn to being there. And as a result, everybody is really, everybody's really good at what they do. So the theater is amazing, the movies are amazing, the schools are very good for being such a small school. And it's really, it fights above its weight. For how few people are there, there's amazing people of all levels, you know, whether they're artists or athletes. We had a kid who won a silver medal in the Olympics this year. So there's a lot of high achievers in Telluride.
Now, I imagine that although there are some real high achievers, I'm thinking of, I'm sort of drawing parallels in my mind to Park City, although Park City is much bigger and much less Telluride than Telluride, but it's a similar community in some ways. And I live near Park City.
Right. Yeah, you're in Utah.
Yeah, so I'm thinking about that. I'm thinking, well, clearly there are people who don't fit that pattern. In fact, there are probably some people who have, you know, multi-generation roots in the community, but who don't have a lot of resources. How do they get to participate in the programs?
Oh, well, we have tuition assistance for every single thing that we do. You know, so if it's a $400 computer coding class and you can't pay it, but you can bake cupcakes, you can bake cupcakes for our fundraiser, you know. I mean, so we have all sorts of ways of making tuition possible. We also just do a bunch of classes that are completely free. The things that we do at the library are funded by amazing organizations that fund our programs, and we don't charge anything for them. So when we do the No School Science projects, there's no charge involved. I should also mention our affiliation with the Smithsonian. I don't know if that started at the very beginning or a couple of years in, but that certainly made the level of the quality of the programs that we do a lot higher. And they pay us to run some programs. They sponsored the astrophotography program that I was just telling you about. But they also just have a lot of resources for small organizations like ours. You know, but a lot of our programs are for free, or, you know, either no charge or low charge, or we always have tuition assistance. The robotics club that we do, for example, is offered mainly to the Hispanic community in Telluride, and there's no charge for that. And then we just get funding. Yeah, we have a lot of amazing small organizations that fund us. Everything from the Telluride Foundation to Just for Kids Foundation, to the Telluride case grants that we get, and there's a small bank, Alpine Bank, that funds us. But then we also have a lot of very generous donors who just have decided that this is something they want to get behind. I mean, it's not hard to understand why it would be a good idea to support STEM education for kids in this rural area of southwestern Colorado.
I get that. Well, listen, Sarah, before we go, we just have a minute. Tell us a little bit about how people can get in touch and who should get in touch with you.
Right. Well, the number one thing I'm looking for right now, frankly, aside from, of course, always donors, would be scientists who want to come to the Valley of Telluride. We can find you a place to stay. We can hook you up with ski tickets. And we will ask of you that you go and talk to the students in the schools. Again, not only Telluride, but also, you know, Ridgeway Ouray or Norwood, Nuclean, Hatarita. It's a really interesting population of kids. They're very hungry to learn. They're very hungry to have real-life examples, which is why I do want these working scientists to come into our valley to talk to our kids. And you can always get in touch with me via the website, which is hopefully on my lower third right there, pinheadinstitute.org. And it has my contact info. I think it has my cell phone on it, but it certainly has my email, which is sarah@pinheadinstitute.org, and Sarah has an H on the end. But I encourage you to reach out if you want to help volunteer for a class. One of our new program manager actually just walked in one day in May and said, I want to volunteer, and he was a mechanical engineer. I said, okay, good. We're going to have a bridge camp. You're going to run that for us. We're going to do robotics. You're going to run that for us. And now he's running our 3D printing program because he's a former robotics engineer as well. So we get really lucky with the people who come by and decide to help us out. And so I have to thank everyone who's done so and encourage more to do so as well.
Oh, that's fantastic. Well, Sarah, it's been absolutely a joy to listen to you and to visit with you and hear about the great work you're doing there in Telluride. Wish you every success.
Thank you so much. I can't believe it's over, Devin. I really appreciate your time with me. Thanks for giving me a chance to tell the Pinhead story. As I was a television news producer for years and years, I do love telling a good story, and I think this one is just fantastic.
It is indeed. Thank you very much.
Thanks so much. Bye.
Let's do some good.